Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. This is Viper Strike 95 here, and it's great to have you guys here today. Um, so this is going to be the start of a new journey, based for Firefly Air, and this would be my very first Firefly Air journey for you. It would be 4 weeks as we tour the island nation known as the Philippines. Now, for guys who don't know what about the Philippines are in Southeast Asia, definitely one of the more unique countries in the region. It consists of over 7,000 islands and features a diverse set of culture, languages, and more importantly, beautiful scenery. So it's great to have you guys here. As Devil Dude's in the chat, I'm doing quite well. I appreciate you stopping by, Devil Dude. It's great to have you here. So let's look for today's flight plan as we're here in the Philippines. So our flight plan is 2 legs for today. This is 2 legs, but we're gonna fly through the island of Mindanao. So we're gonna fly from General Santos Airport. From General Santos, we're gonna fly across quite a few of the mountains and lakes. We might see the tallest mountain of Mount Apo. We're gonna fly near it, so we can see that. Fly through the Kaga Mountains, and then reach our stop here at Lumbia Airfield at Kaga De Oro. And then from there, we'll take from there. We're gonna cross more into Islamic City, and then we'll pay a visit to Zamboanga International Airport, which is the fifth most populous city in the Philippines. So we'll make our stop there, and that will complete leg one. But if you guys want to see the entire journey, this is what the entire journey looks like. So we'll fly from General Santos to Cagayan de Oro to Zamboa, then cross the ocean into Palawan Island, then reach to San Jose Buena Vista to RPVA, Romeo Papa Lima Papa, then visit Manila, which is the classic heart of the Philippines in Quezon City, then reaching to San Fernando, and finally to Liagog International. But we're doing like one today, which is in the description. So that is going to be today's flight plan with the Philippines. Very, very stunning place. I think a very underrated country in Asia. So we're gonna do some GA flying. Yes, Viper's not in an airliner today. I'm actually taking a GA plane for today. And I haven't actually took this plane for a while, and of course, this is the SimWorks Studios Kodiak. This is a plane I haven't taken on stream very much in recent times. I don't know why, but I really haven't got much of an opportunity to do so. So this beautiful bird here definitely was made by Daher, the same people who know it's made by actually Quest Kodiak, which is part of Daher, the same corporation that makes the TBM. This Kodiak in particular can go up to 183 knots cruise speed. It has a range of over 1,000 nautical miles, can reach 25,000 feet, and it can take off at less than 1,000 feet, which is extremely impressive for this all-around capable turboprop-powered STOL plane. And it can carry both men and cargo, which is quite appropriate for today's trip. We're carrying both cargo and some sightseers. So we'll be doing some flight tours in the Philippines. So let's take a look in the interior. So this is the interior of the Kodi. Now, I got the mixed version, which carries both passengers and cargo. So I'm gonna try and load up some weight. Let's see, works. So we're gonna go ahead and load up the plane. We're gonna go to 85. Okay, that sounds good. 150 in the back. 150. Look at that, we got people. Um, Afterwards, we're going to put it on the cargo ship. We're going to carry 200 pounds back into cargo. Okay, our center of gravity's out of line. That's going to have to reduce. Just trying to load some both passengers and cargo. Just so I guess we can carry 90. That's doing well. Okay, I think that looks pretty good with the cargo. But Karen, if you, I'm trying to find what would be a harder for car. Okay, that looks good. So that's about the cargo. Now we're going to go ahead and get this plane started. So pre-flight inspection in the cabin. I think we've already completed the pre-flight inspection, so everything should be good. So let's go. Oh, let's check. We brief the passengers. We're going to take our seatbelts. We're going to fly to 6,000 feet. All the closed doors unlocked. The cabin report secured. Now we can turn on the master switch, which is located right here. Avionics switch. Avionics on. Parking brake's been set. The engine and inlet, which is required. Fuel selector must be turned on. Open both tanks. Check. Push in.
Pause system test. Okay.
Emergency power level is normal. Into feather. Fuel condition lever. It is cut off. Okay. Flaps are at 0. Circuit breakers are pushed. Before we get flying, let me go ahead and push out the standby indicator, since that, from what I heard, increases your FPS. Take off torque limit determined, autopilot. Okay. We turn on the beacon light. Beacon light is right here. Turn that on. Emergency power lever. Repair area is clear. We turn on. It's clear. Turn on. Low idle. Now, before we get going, I'm going to go ahead and insert today's flight plan. Let's go ahead and start it for today. So, if you guys want to join me, I'm on the East USA server, as usual, and here is for today's route plan. It's for the first 3 links. RPMR. RPMZ. Pretty easy to put into the flight plan. Pretty easy. And that is Zamboanga International. There you go. Easy. There we go. Garmin is on. Okay. That should be good. I don't think we need our starter anymore. And I think we can turn off our auxiliary pump. Just stand by. And I think that's everything. That's how we start. And before we get going, let me go ahead and turn on the CDI. That should look good. And we can turn on the rest of our lights. We can turn on our heat if we need to. We don't need our de-icing equipment. Turn on strobe lights, and we can get ready to taxi. So for our runway, we are going to taxi. We're going to actually taxi down to. We can take off from whatever runway we want. We're actually going to take off from runway 35. 35 is where we're going to be taxiing for this afternoon. This should be a good flight. So this should be a good one here. I hope everyone's doing great today. I know for me, so if you guys have not gone to my Discord, so in the Firefly Air Ops, just before we got started on our flight, I did a short hop from Brunei to General Santos in the 7-3, and I had to deliver some supplies over to General Santos, which would be the supplies for the next couple of weeks of journey. I mean, we couldn't have a tour without actually going off on our journey. So, before we get started, if you don't mind, let's talk about our airport for taking off today. Yes, I prepared a slideshow as usual. So here it is, guys. This here is the Philippine Islands. More specifically, this is General Santos International. This is actually an alternate international airport. It was inaugurated on July 6, 1996. He replaced the older and smaller Buyan Airport. Now, this runway is around 10,000 feet, and it was served the greater area of Saskatchewan and General Santos. Now, some interesting facts about this airport as well. General Santos Airport hosts quite a few flights, mainly with Cebu Pacific for domestic flights. Domestic, I mean. But also Philippine Airlines flies from here to Manila, which is the Big O capital. So we're going to go ahead and prepare to take off for this flight. Set the trim because, yes, this aircraft is not like others. You need to set the trim before takeoff. You need some trim, and our cruise is going to be 6,000 feet. I'm going to cruise around 155 knots. So, power up here, and we'll get ready to take off. So, after this is going to be General Santos, which is an urbanized city here in the Philippines. It's a first-class city with a population of 697,000. It is located in the island of Mindanao, and is the 15th most populous city here in the Philippines. It's the regional center of commerce and industry in the area, and it's primarily anchored in two major industries, mainly the agriculture and fishing are big parts of the industry here in this local area. And here, yeah, we take off. Climb a little bit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and trim a little, and nav mode. Oh god. Medic! Oh god. I'm dead. I'm actually screwed. Medic! God. I'm gonna go ahead and take off again. What happened? Something happened with the autopilot. The autopilot screwed up, front all. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take off again. So guys, so I'm gonna clear out the route. I'm sorry guys, this is not off to a good start. This is not the flight I would want to start. I'm so sorry, guys. Like I said, it's my first time flying this thing in a... Okay, I'm back. Oh no, not again. Wrong, I don't know.
Stall.
Okay. There she goes. Ah, finally. Yeah, I did came over flaps in the trim. Okay, now it's fixed. I want to deeply apologize to all of you. I'm really sorry. What did you fix? I turned off the cutoff in the autopilot. That's what I did to fix it. It must also be the center of gravity. It must be because center of gravity wasn't great. You need to keep changing the trim. Yep. So let me go ahead and play some music, if you don't mind. So we're finally off after some few missed moments. So we're finally off here from General Santos. So welcome to the Philippines, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Hey, Professor Woland, good to have you here. I had a bit of a mess up on start. I messed up on the start. But to be fair, I blame myself for it. I haven't flown this plane in a couple of months. I haven't flown this thing in a couple... Yeah, but I'm now back in the air at least, so I'm at least back in the air where I should be. So, some more information about General Santos, the city itself. So let's talk a bit more about General Santos as well. I didn't manage because I had that crash. It was formerly known as Danbunga, but it was renamed after General Paulino Santos, the former commanding general of the Philippine Army. The history of it goes all the way back to... It was founded in 1947 on August 18th. Now, this area is known for its agriculture industry, thanks to its rich volcanic soil. And unlike other areas of the Philippines, it's typhoon-free, means it's free from all the terrible typhoons. And in this state, due to this, it produces many of the high-valued crops like corn, coconut, pineapple, asparagus, banana, and rice. It also yields a lot of exotic fruits, vegetables, and more, and is a top producer of livestock. Then fishing as well, as it produces the largest producer of sashimi-grade tuna in the Philippines. So, in early 1970, it was known as the tuna capital of the Philippines. It also has the second largest daily total catch of fish in the country as well. And one of its most famous people is actually the host of the longest running variety show of the Philippines, Eat Baluga, Sebastian Benedict. And sister city in the U.S. is Jersey City in the U.S. So that is a bit about General Santos. So, hey, Marco88, good to have you here. First time in the chat. Marco, I hope you're doing great. I'm doing some general aviation flying here today. I'm taking the SimWorks Studios Kodiak in over a 1,400-mile journey. This is leg one. We just took off from General Santos, and we're heading to Kaga De Oro. So I hope you're doing well. If you want to join in, feel free to join. I'm on the East USA server. Hey, and Bachman78's first time chat as well. I hope you two are doing great. It's good to see you, Bachman. So, we're now approaching one of the many mountains here in the Philippines. Oh yeah, the Kodiak's great. Your Kodiak is probably, if you want to talk about turboprops, and I'm being honest, if you love your turboprop planes, this is the best one to get, and I definitely think the Kodiak's amazing. Absolutely worth it. I think they might be coming out with the Floatiac soon, which would be fantastic to have a Kodiak with floats. That's going to be very exciting. I mean, with all the new releases of GA stuff, like the 414 and the 310, this kind of gets overshadowed a bit. But this is still a fantastic plane. And it has a feature those planes don't have, is the glorious cup holder. None of those have a cup holder, but this plane does. Now, before we go check, I want to check live weather. I think I've flown it earlier. I don't think the weather's that bad. Okay, actually, live weather doesn't look bad at all in the Philippines today. Hopefully one day we can put a can of beer. Yes. Yes, someone needs to put beer. We need to put Guinness. Guinness or beer pina coladas. I had to adjust the rudder trim. If you guys like what you're seeing here, don't be afraid to smash that follow button. Or in the case YouTube actually already been following, I forgot. I also do have a Discord, which is right here. I do have a Discord. Click the link and you guys can catch up with my Discord for the latest in my flight plans. Now, so I want to show you guys what I've been doing. So guys, it's here. So what I've been doing, guys, is this is for Firefly Air. This is my profile, of course. So this is from the flight I did earlier today, from Brunei to Manila, to not Brunei into General Santos. I had to do some cargo delivery there. So that's what I had to do earlier. So if you guys want to join Firefly, let me show you. What you need to do is download the client, the land rate manager. Click this, download it, and you also need to get FSUI PC client. If you're using MSFS, FSX, or PWD. If you're using X-Plane, use the XPU IC. What's great is FS Hub lets you use all of those together. So even if you're using X-Plane, you could still join the airline. And you can have detailed flight reports, GPS tracking, pilot profiles, VAs, achievements, unlimited screenshots, and more. Which is extremely impressive, and it's for free. You don't even need to pay anything for this, which is extremely nice. Currently, Firefly Air is the top airliner of this month. Over 1,000 flights on Firefly Air this month. And by distance as well. I mean, what an insane month has been for the Fireflies. We have almost 127 visitors, which is the second largest of all the virtual airlines as well. Only British Avia's Osprey Airlines is greater, and that has 140 people. So I hope the more people join, the better, which is great. And we got big plans for this virtual airline stuff with Merck, obviously. So I've just been doing some of this myself, been contributing to all the flights. So there's that. So I'm hoping you guys have had a great week so far. Everything's been going well for all of you. I've been preparing to do this flight for quite a while. I've just been working on the slides. Oh yeah, and speaking of which, I want to ask you guys. I hope you guys had a smooth update to World Update 9. World Update 10 just came out yesterday. Actually, I wasn't expecting to come out this early. And I think the update went really smooth for me. The update went really smooth, and everything worked great. Which, I mean, I couldn't ask for nothing more, nothing less. To be quite honest, I hope things are going well with you. So I really do like the world update. I did visit the Leaning Tower of Pisa and all that, but the thing I'm most impressed with the Italian world update was the quality of data. The map data on it looks absolutely insane. So I was flying the Alpines earlier, and I gotta say the Alpines look absolutely incredible. So I know I've also seen, yeah, the quality's great and it's my home country. Awesome. Actually, speaking, Marco, after next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday, I'm planning to do a city tour, and I'm visiting Rome. I get to visit the city of Rome next Sunday, which will be absolutely amazing, especially with that now the world updates. There's so many landmarks in there. And not only is it going to be Rome, it's also going to be visiting the Vatican too. Which is going to be pretty cool to see the Vatican City. And I'm definitely getting tons of screenshots for this one. Now, to our right, guys, take a look at our right. So our right is Mount Oppo. Mount Oppo is the tallest mountain peak of the Philippines. It's nearly 9,700 feet above sea level. And this mountain in particular is actually a dormant stratovolcano, actually. And it overlooks Davao City. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was once a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but it's filled with 4 major lakes, quite a few rivers, and of course it's kind of a popular hiking attempt. People have tried actually to hike up top of the summit as well. Now, the name of Mount Oppo actually means revered elder. Come from the Lumbia tribes. It's the shortened form of Manabo, one of the languages spoke here, and the Kaga name Oppo Sendwala, the name of the spirit of the mountain. Pretty cool. Pretty cool background here about Mount Oppo. Rome is my favorite. Yeah, I want to visit Rome in real life. Rome would be absolutely incredible to visit in real life. But I mean, Italy's got so many really cool cities. It's got Florence, Milan, Venice, Naples. Then there's also Sicily as well. Sicily's a stunning place to visit. So yeah, Italy's got lots of really cool cities to visit. So I'm going to give you guys a history lesson. So let's talk about the Philippines for a bit, guys. So some interesting facts about the Philippines. It consists of over 7,640 islands. It's an archipelago country in Southeast Asia. It has 3 main geographic divisions: Luzon to the north, Visayas to the south, and Mindanao to the south, which is where we're visiting today. It's bounded by the West Philippine Sea to the west, the Philippine Sea to the east, and the Celebes Sea to the southwest. And it shares maritime borders with Taiwan, Japan, Palau, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and China. And yes, some of those borders are quite disputed, if you ask me. Now this archipelago covers around 300,000 square miles, 300,000 square kilometers, 120,000 square miles, and it has a population of around 109 million people, which, yes, it makes it the 13th most populous country in the world. To put this in perspective, the United Kingdom has a population around, I believe, 80 million. The UK. Oh, the UK actually has a population of 67 million. This means the Philippines has 40 million more people than the UK. And despite the fact the Philippines already have even more islands, and I mean, that's pretty crazy to think about. It's also extremely diverse in many different ethnicities and cultures, with the capital being in Manila, obviously. So that is a bit about the Philippines. It's very much an emerging market on the world stage, and it has recently been industrialized, with an economy transitioning from being one based on agriculture to one more of services and manufacturing as well. But yeah, the Philippines is a really, really underrated country. It has not only 2 official languages, it's also recognized 19 more national languages. So let's start about the history of the Philippines, shall we? This will be for today's leg, is talk about the history of the Philippines and about the island we're visiting. So this is the history. So it goes all the way back to around 47,000 years ago. They found the oldest modern human remains were found here. They were from the Tabon Caves of Palawan, which is we're going to be visiting next week. Dated around between 47,000 years ago. And apparently he's a Negrito, which is among the earliest inhabitants of and they're descendants of the first human migrations out of Africa through the coastal routes southern Asia. But the earliest known hominins were actually living all the way back in 709,000 years ago. But the first Austronesians to actually reach here was in 2200 BC, down at the Banten Islands in northern Luzon from Taiwan, and from there they rapidly spread downwards for the rest of the islands in Southeast Asia. This population is simulated with the Negritos, resulting in the modern Filipino groups, which displays ratios of genetic admixture between the Austronesian and the Negrito groups. And apparently they found some jade artifacts been found here from around 2000 BC, with the Linglino jade items crafted from raw materials from Taiwan. By 1000 BC, the inhabitants of the archipelago developed into 4 different kinds of social groups: hunter-gatherers, warriors, highland, and port principalities. However, the earliest known surviving written record found here was the Laguna copperplate inscription, and this was dated back to 822 AD. By the 1300s, a large number of coastal settlements have emerged as trade centers and became the focal point of societal changes, as some of these political entities have exchanges with other states in Asia. Trade with China has been begun since the Tang Dynasty, but grew more into the Sung Dynasty. By the 2nd millennium CE, some Philippine politics sent delegation to the tributary of China. However, one of the major parts of the Philippines was Hindu practices as well from India, and their trade has made a big part about Filipino culture as well. Hey, Raleigh Mall, good day. Let me give a shout out for Raleigh Mall. If you guys haven't checked out Raleigh Mall 9, really awesome Australian content creator. He makes some great streams about Australia, so definitely check him out. However, warfare began to really escalate during the 14th and 16th century, and that's due to the fact there's so many different diverse. It created a lot of warfare, and that's a result. The population density was low. The Luzon had military influence in Southeast and East Asia, but the first European to arrive in the area was actually Ferdinand Magellan, a very famous Portuguese explorer. And for guys who don't know about Magellan, this iconic Portuguese explorer, he was one of the first people to circumnavigate the planet. And his voyage started on September 20th, 1519, sailed west toward the Atlantic in South America. And the way he got from South America to the Pacific was through the thing called the Magellan Strait, which was located in modern-day Argentina and Chile. And then from there, he actually reached all the way and sailed to what would be the Philippines. Unfortunately, this is where actually Magellan died, as he was killed by Lapu-Lapu, which is one of the chieftains of the Philippines, at the Battle of Mactan, which ended up killing Ferdinand Magellan. So about 40 years later, Spanish explorer Miguel Lopez de la Paz arrived here from Mexico to begin Spanish colonialization of the Philippines. And in 1571, it became the capital of the Spanish East Indies, which encompassed the modern territories in Asia and the Pacific. The Spanish successfully invaded the different local states by employing the principle of divide and conquer, which means they said, we're going to launch concentration to smaller power, making it easier to conquer. And since the Philippines has been so diverse, the Spanish were able to take advantage of that, bringing now what is now the Philippines into a single unified administration. People who were desperate were converted into Catholicism and Christianity, and from 1565 to 1821, the Philippines were governed as part of the Mexico-based Viceroyalty of New Spain, later administered from Madrid. And Manila was then since been the hub of trans-Pacific trade here in the Philippines. During its rule, Spain quelled many indigenous revolts through that time as well, along with external military challenges through the time. They also waged war against the Muslims in the south, which bankrupted the colonial treasury of the Spanish during this time. Administration of the Philippines were considered a drain. However, the economic potential of the area is what kept the Spanish into the Philippines. It was briefly occupied by the British from 1762 to 1764 during the Seven Years' War. In the 19th century, the Philippine ports opened to the world trade, and there started a lot of shifts towards Filipino society. The Latin American wars really allowed the Filipinos to help establish their own identity, with Filipino referring to Spanish born in the Philippines, to a term encompassing all people in the archipelago. And in 1872, we've seen a lot of revolutionary sentiments start to happen, but it wasn't until the Philippine Revolution in 1896 that led to revolts, and eventually that became greater 2 years later with the Spanish-American War. And as a result, thanks to the Spanish-American War, the Philippines declared independence from Spain on June 12, 1898, and the first Philippine Republic was established in 1899, but it didn't last long, as after the Spanish-American War, the U.S. Started the Philippine-American War, which resulted in the deaths of 250 to 1 million civilians due to famine and disease. And after the defeat of the Philippine Republic, the U.S. government was established in the Philippines. And then during the era of the Second World War era, there's continued cultural developments during this time with greater national identity. Then World War II happened and the Japanese invaded the Philippines. Now, for guys who probably aren't aware, the Japanese for the Philippines and the Second Philippine Republic was established as a puppet government to the Japanese. And from 1942 on, the occupation of the Philippines was opposed by large-scale guerrilla activity. And there's been a lot of war crimes in the war, but particularly two of them. First, the infamous Bataan Death March, which was absolutely brutal if you guys don't know about this. But basically, it was the forcible transfer of American and Filipino prisoners of war by the Japanese from Siasan Point in Bataan to Marlevis and Camp O'Donnell, and it killed around 5,000 to 18,650 deaths of POWs, and it was characterized by severe physical abuse and wanton killings. In the Manila Massacre as well, which killed lots of civilians. Around 100,000 to 500,000 civilians were killed. Thankfully, though, the Philippines was liberated by the U.S. forces in 1945, and on July 4th, 1946, the Philippines was officially recognized by the U.S. as an independent nation through the Treaty of Manila. Starting with the presidency of Manuel Roxas, in 1965, Marcos lost the presidential election to Ferdinand Marcos. Nearing the end of his term, however, Marcos declared martial law and that part of his rule was characterized by political repression, censorship, and human rights violations. He also started the modern-day moral conflict in this island, and there was a lot of stuff. The turning point, however, was in the 1980s when Marcos, when his chief rival Benito Aquino Jr. was assassinated in Manila International. 3 years later, he did a snap presidential election. Marcos was proclaimed the winner, but the results were widely regarded as fraudulent. And as a result, the protest led to the People Power Revolution, which forced Marcos to flee to Hawaii and let Aquino's widow Corazon to be installed as president. With the return of democracy in 1986, but they were hampered by debt, government corruption, and coup attempts, including a communist insurgency and military conflict with the moral separatists persisted, and faced a whole bunch of disasters, from the sinking of Japanese from ferry sinkings to Mount Pinatumble's eruption in '91. Eventually, Fidel V. Ramos took over, who grew the economy initially, but was overshadowed by the Asian financial crisis. Then Joseph Estrada, but he was then overthrown in another revolution, the Second People's Power Revolution. Then from Memorial, but she was tainted by scandals and stuff too. And then eventually, then we have Rodrigo Durante in 2016 winning the presidential election and become the first president from this island. And he launched anti-drug, infrastructure program, and war. And then, if you want to talk about more recent news, And this happened just a couple days ago. But you wouldn't believe this, actually, if you would have told me this. So, I'm not talking about politics, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. So, you know Ferdinand Marcos, right? Well, his son, Marcos Jr., just won the presidency in the Philippines. Yes, they actually elected Marcos' son to be the president. Ugh. I know it's crazy, but it is pretty crazy to think about. But this is the history of the Philippines. Just a shortened, summarized thing. The Philippines definitely has a very interesting history when it comes to things in Southeast Asia. So I hope you guys liked the presentation about the history. Hope you guys are actually enjoying this so far. Ah, thanks, Raleigh. Yeah, I definitely like the history too. Hey, Splasher6, good to have you here. Guys, if you haven't checked out Splasher6, an amazing guy. Just such a great guy in the community, very helpful, very kind-hearted guy. I know Splasher's been doing the Italian tour recently, and I think he's almost nearly finishing up his Pan American Highway trip. So, Splasher, we're flying in the Philippines, so let's go back to some exterior screenshots. So, we're in the Kodiak, we're heading our way to Kaga De Oro, here in the Philippines. So this is just leg one of the trip. We have another leg coming out afterwards. Just trying to stretch out a little bit. So Splasher6, I hope things are going well for you. So I just talked about the history of the Philippines and talked about the country itself. Definitely some very interesting things about the Philippines. Yeah, I was watching the history. Yeah, the history was very interesting. I definitely think the Philippines is definitely very underappreciated in terms of its history. It's definitely fascinating. Like this was actually the first colonized area from Spain that the Spanish Empire has. I know a lot of people, when they talk about the Spanish colonies, they think of the Americas, but a lot of people forget they also got Philippines here too. Yeah, yeah, he met us in the Philippines. So actually, here's interesting about Magellan's journey. So after he died in the Philippines, on his circumnavigation, by the way. So after he was killed in the Philippines, so after his death at the Battle of Macon, with just 115 surviving men, they didn't have enough men to continue operating 3 ships, so one of the 3 ships, the Concepcion, was empty on fire. So now they have only 2 ships. They traded out in Victoria, and they spent the next 6 months meeting between Southeast Asia and the Moluccas. And they stopped at several islands like Manadao and Brunei. And they engaged acts of piracy, including robbing a ship bound for China. Then Carvalho got here, and then they continued the expedition all the way back from Victoria Ocean, from the Indian Ocean route, and including the Cape of Good Hope, and then they reached back to Spain. And they got back here July 10, 1522. And unbelievably, there's only 18 men that survived on the Victoria. So only 1 ship of the 3 still survived, and it was only 18 men actually returned. Pretty crazy stuff about Magellan. So that's a bit of something interesting about that. And there are many different accounts of the voyage, too. But this expedition, though, was very important to navigate the Grove and circumnavigate the Strait of South America to the Atlantic and Pacific. So yeah, that is a bit about Magellan. Let's see if there's anyone else flying with us today. I don't see anyone else here. So Splasher, if you know my Discord, let me post one of the links. Here's on my stream links. Let me post this picture. So this is Magellan's journey, by the way. So you can definitely see where he went. So the Philippines was one of his major stops. Mm-hmm. But yeah, also another thing too is that the Philippines are pretty notorious for corruption, which is definitely one of the biggest issues in the country. Is definitely corruption. I mean, the fact that the president of the dictator got elected probably is pretty surprising for a democratic country. But man, it's beautiful out here in the Philippines. The mountains look absolutely awesome. Oh, you'll be fine, Sim? No worries, Rob. That'd be great. Thank you. So we are around, let me see, we're around 35 nautical miles from our destination here at Kaga De Oro. Did he get killed before he made his way around the world? Yes, he was killed in the Philippines. He was killed in the Battle of Mactan, Splasher 6. Yeah, he's truly dead. That's probably something a lot of people didn't realize. Let's just check our passengers. They're looking pretty fine out there today. We got our cargo in the back. So everything's looking pretty good. We got our sun visor up. It's a little later in the afternoon. So I'm going to look at some MSFS news, some add-on stuff. So India Fox Echo is coming out with the N346, the evolution of the N3339. The FS Sting Reborn is looking like to be a fantastic one. I've seen Fabio fly it and beam it. They all really like it. And then Flight Replicas. They're coming out revealing their L4 Grasshopper. Yes, the L4 Grasshopper, which is the original Cub. Now that might be the point I'm excited for, is the original Cub. People don't realize how much I love the classic Cubs. You'll be off to lunch. No worries, Splasher. I hope things go well, and I hope things are going all right for you in the lurk. So we're about getting near to the airport. So we're heading to, let's talk about Kaga De Oro, the city itself. So Kaga De Oro, definitely a very interesting city here. So Kaga De Oro is actually another first-class urbanized city. And basically, for those that don't know what a first-class urbanized city looks like, basically it is how the Philippines classify their cities. This is a very big city of 728,000 people, which makes this one of the larger cities in the Philippines. And in fact, in terms of city sizes in the Philippines, with 728,000 people, is actually the 10th largest city here in the Philippines. It's named the City of Golden Friendship. Located in the mouth of the Kaga De Oro River, this city is well known as the regional center and the business hub of the northern Mindanao Islands. Is very well known as a popular tourist attraction, especially with whitewater rafting and kayaking on the Cagayan River, which makes it very popular for tourism. Now, this place was established in 1626 by settlement. The town was established itself in 1871. Originally, the city was actually known as the River of Gold, which is what led to the city. All the caves yielded a lot of artifacts from the for excavation and all that. During the colonial period, it was a major area for gold and stuff. And it was actually a seat of the Spanish government on the island. During the America period of the Americas, this area became well known for fishing and farming area, and it became a booming trade center. Then in the modern era, under the martial law era of Ferdinand Marcos, it was not spared from all the brutal military bombings and all that. And by the time martial law ended, more than 1,000 people have been tortured, raped, and more by Marcos's government. And as a result, it became one of the centers of political opposition here in the Philippines. And in more recent years, this area has grown greatly for archaeology and stuff. But it's also been the site of quite a few of the tropical storms and typhoons, with most recently being Typhoon Venta in 2017. So that's kind of something interesting here. It's well known for automotive industry with dealerships, retails, but it's mainly for business. It also has a rich center of cultural arts, including some festivals and more. And finally, about our airport, and that's Lumbia Airfield. So Lumbia Airfield used to be the main airport of Kaga De Oro until the newly constructed Languandian International Airport. But now it's transformed into a military air base, now operated by the 10th Tactical Group of the Philippine Air Force. It used to be the second busiest airport in the island, behind Francisco Bangoy International in Davao City. Now, the new airport, which is further up in the island, that one is the 6th busiest airport in the Philippines, and they often use flights to Cebu and Manila by most of the airliners. So we'll be getting ready to get landing. So that's going to be the end of the slideshow for this one. Man, I definitely need to get. I'm gonna go ahead and disable the autopilot. No. Keep it stable. Let's see if we can find the airport somewhere. I need to check the wind. PFD, wind, option number 3, back. So you can definitely see here, we have 4 or 5 knot winds, 180 degrees. So we've got quite a bit of little wind. And I think I see the airport down here. Getting near a lot of the rivers here in the Philippines. So guys, I wonder if it's okay. Let's see if the predict thing works. Predict last time. Yeah, okay guys, if you put exclamation point predict, let's see if you guys can calculate my landing rate for today's flight. Oh, there's Roy Mall, and you're in the Cessna 310. I don't have the C310, unfortunately. I spent over $120 getting the 146 and the 73. So I need to get the 310 at a later date, unfortunately. But that's a fantastic plane you got there, Raleigh. But man, this is very beautiful here. Yeah, I think that's the airfield. There she is. The airfield's down here. There's our airfield. Yeah, yeah, I think the 310 is definitely one of the best, especially if you're GA, probably. If you're GA, this is definitely one of the best planes in the sim for GA pilots. For airliners, that's a tough choice, man. I mean, the Just Flight 146 is amazing. The 737 is incredible from PMDG. They nailed it with that. If you don't mind paying a little extra, I know that the Mad Dog is quite good from what I've heard. A little expensive on the expensive side, but I mean, still a really good plane. And then the A320 from Phoenix is coming real soon for only $50, which was a lot cheaper than I was expecting it. But from what I saw, the Phoenix 320 looks really good too, and it sounds amazing for a jet plane. I mean, we're getting spoiled with some amazing add-ons, and I mean, there's a couple more on the way. There's obviously the Sting S4 from the marketplace. That's going to definitely be very interesting to have. Now this wind is making it really interesting. Look, it's blowing all over the place. Let the wind blow from everywhere. It's going to make this a pretty tricky approach. I'm going to hold the final engine flaps. Get down. That was a great. That was a great landing. Negative 112. That was an excellent landing. Excellent landing here. That was a fantastic. That was a great landing. Okay. Let's see if there's any other landings we're going to be doing. After we get here, I'm going to take a small bow break, about a minute or two. That would be a good time for us to get the second leg ready, and then we'll reach to our second and final leg here of our journey here to Zamboanga International. It should be a good one. Oh yeah, Raleigh Mall's already down. So guys, welcome to Kaga De Oro Airport in the beautiful island of Manadihao in the Philippines. So let's go ahead and tour the city. So over here is Kaga De Oro. So here's what Kaga De Oro kind of looks like in the sim. So you definitely see it's a major area for commerce. There's lots of buildings here. So that's going to probably be for right now. So I'll be going ahead and take a power break, and I'll be headed right back pretty soon. So see you in a minute. Hey guys, I'm back. Let me go ahead and now start up the new flight. So just hold on a second. I'm gonna have to go through Firefly Air. Let me 510, 3,500 feet. RPML, RPMZ. Set active plan, and okay, we got that flight set up. So let me go ahead and readjust the weight. So we're gonna get rid of some of the and today we're gonna have to carry some stuff for the tourists. So after we took some tourists back to Kaga De Oro, now we're gonna have to So we now carry some cargo. This is now we reload the cargo. So now we're going back. We're going to go to our second leg of the trip from our trusty little nav map. So we're going to hit here from Kaga De Oro, and we're going to fly down and reach to Zamboanga International Airport here at Zamboanga City, which is the 5th largest city here in the Philippines. So, yeah. But before we get started on our trip, okay, I'm gonna set 2 stage flaps, and I'm gonna go take off trim. Okay, this looks good. I'm gonna wait for Raleigh Mall. I'm ready to take off, Raleigh. So I am gonna fly over Kaga De Oro. Flaps good. Engines spooling up. Wait till they get turbocharged. And I'm ready to take off. And we're off. So we're gonna fly over Kaga De Oro, and then I'll be circling back the other direction. So here it is, Kaga De Oro, the beautiful Philippines. So here it is, Kaga De Oro. Here it is. Now I'm going to go ahead and go nav map. And we're going to go back to 3,500 feet. So we're back up. We're going to go back to the airport. So it says here my Firefly Air thing. We just completed the first part of his achievement. So now that we're back, definitely a beautiful sight here today. I appreciate everyone for coming along for today's journey. Also, in addition to my Discord, I also have something on the other platform. This is where all my VODs go. So if you want to catch up on my previous series and stuff, I have here in the VOD. But yeah, this area here is extremely beautiful. So I know that Raleigh's with us. Raleigh's a little bit behind in the Cessna 310. There's Raleigh Mall. So I'm going to ask you guys, I know this will be the last stream till the weekend. I hope you guys got some pretty nice plans for the weekend. So now I'm going to be ready to go ahead and talk about the next topic, if you guys don't mind. So let's go ahead and do the among the last part. Let's do a part of for the other part of this journey. So this here is Mindanao. This island in particular is the second largest island in the entirety of the Philippines. It is actually the 7th most populous island on the planet. And this one here with the population of 27 million people, which is pretty crazy that this island has over 27 million people. This whole island is divided by 6 different administrative regions. They include Zamboanga. Then there's Northern Mindanao, which we currently are in. The Davao region contains the most populous city in the area, Davao City. Then we have the Skakskaran region by Coronadal. The Kaga region, which is northeast, that's known for Bhutan. And finally, the administrative region is Kobato City, which is its own autonomous region. This island is absolutely well known for being a major breadbasket, as it's the breadbasket of the Philippines, with 8 of the top 10 agricultural commodities exported from the Philippines coming from the island itself. This particular, I'm waiting for a new rig with a 3080. Oh, that's gonna be awesome, bro. That's awesome, bro. So the history of this island in particular, Mindanao, the history goes all the way back to 10,000 years, but the first Austronesian people came around during 1500 BC, and they spread throughout the Philippines. The Subanon have believed to settle here during the Neolithic era, between 4500 to 2000 BC, as there was evidence of stone tools found in Zamboanga de Norte province. But during the classic epoch region of the Philippine history from 900 onwards, the people of Mindanao were heavily exposed to Hindu and Buddhist influence from Indonesia and Malaysia. In fact, you can find Indianized scripts from the Kawi and Babin introduced from Javan during this time. Cultural icons include the Pudong turban, silk, and batik were introduced here to the Philippines, and they found all sorts of artifacts too. And these culture traits passed on from Mindanao to the other islands, mainly the Visayas and Luzon, but were lost or heavily modified after the Spanish arrival. With Hindu and Buddhist culture influence taking root, they synchronizing with the indigenous animist beliefs of the tribes in the interior. And one of those became the Bhutan Rajanate, a Hindu kingdom mentioned in the Chinese record as a tributary state in the 10th century. Then after the Hindu came around, then we have Islamic influence. So Islam exactly came to the Philippines in the 14th century, mainly through Muslim merchants from the Western Malay archipelago. And the first mosque was built in the 14th century near the town of Simo Tawi-Tawi. And around the 16th century, we have several major Muslim sultanates, including Sulu, Lanao, and Maguindanao, were established from the formerly Hindu Buddhist Rajanates. As Islam gained influence in the island, the natives had to either convert to Islam or pay tribute to their new rulers, and the largest of these was the Sultan of Maguinda, which controlled the southern floodplains of the Mindanao River, the second largest river system in the country. Hey! I see a new follow from Elisa KXC. Good to have you here. First time in the chat. Thank you for the follow. I hope you guys really like this sort of stream. I'm just talking about the history of this island. Earlier, I talked about the history of the Philippines. And this is part of our journey, a 4-week journey from here to throughout all of the islands of the Philippines. Not all of them, but we'll visit most of the islands here in the Philippines. I really do appreciate it. I hope things are going well with you today. As well. So back where I was after they either convert or pay tribute. Most of the interior of the island still retained their animist beliefs. But it wasn't until the Spanish colonialization in 1521 Antonio Pigafetta wrote an account of reaching Mindanao. He was with Magellan on the first circumnavigation of the globe and sailing for the King of Spain during that time. In 1543, on February 2nd, Roy Lopez de Villabios was the first Spanish to reach the island, and over time, a number of tribes in Mindanao converted to the Roman Catholic Church and built settlement forts to the coastal region. Now, obviously, there were some conflicts between the Spaniards, the Christian Mindanao, and the ones from the Muslim sultanates. As the sultanates resisted Spanish pressure to convert them to Christianity, the Papan-speaking sultanate formed a close alliance with the Sultanate of Mindanao. And then, by the late 18th century, Spain had complete geographic dominance of the islands, establishing settlements and forts in most of the island, including Zamboanga City. In Davao, Spain continued to engage in battles with the Muslim sultanates until the end of the 19th century. At the same time as the Philippine Revolution for Spain, the Republic of Zamboanga rose as a revolutionary state before being absorbed by the Americans. In the Treaty of 1898, Spain sold the entirety of the archipelago to the U.S. for $20 million. The 1900 Treaty of Washington and the 1930 Convention between the U.S. and Great Britain clarified the borders between Mindanao and Borneo. In 1939, the Philippine government encouraged citizens of Luzon and Visayas to migrate into Mindanao. And in 1942, this island, alongside the Philippines, entered World War II after Japanese soldiers invaded the key islands in the city. Many towns and cities were burned to the ground in the island, most notably Davao City, Zamboanga City, and Kaga De Oro. In the months of 1942, they defeat U.S. troops commanded by William Sharp. And Davao City was one of the earliest to be occupied by the Japanese forces. And Davao City was subject to return forces of Douglas MacArthur as the U.S. liberated the island in Leyte in 1944. After the war, it began to be increasingly peaceful. But under Ferdinand Marcos' administration, he caused a lot of issues as he had new settlers immigrated to the new island to form a militia. And all that resulted in animosity between the Muslim Moros and the Christian communities, resulting in the Jabada massacre in 1968. And it ignited the insurgency, and it led to lots of secessionist movements. And some of these are still going on to this day. Also, there was economic crisis as well, and led to all sorts of unrest. And this led to the deaths, to the killings of many journalists from the area as well. Most notably, Alex Ocrillio and Jacobo Almontan. And then finally, in 1989, the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao was established. And that led us to, in May 2017, Rodrigo Duterte declared martial law on the island once again, as the entire island was under siege by Islamic terrorists. More than 180,000 people were forced to evacuate Moraga City, and 165 security forces and 47 residents were killed. And then in 2019, they established the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, replacing the former autonomous region in the area. So that is a bit about the history. I don't speak English, eh? Oh, really? Sorry. Sorry. No worries. Oh, I'm so sorry. But no, I hope your things are doing alright. So let's look in the background here. So we have ROML 9 flying in the Cessna 310. Hey, Diggy Decimus, not his Viper, but he speaks American pretty good. Hey, Diggy, I'm doing well. I'm gonna give Diggy a shout out. I know he hasn't streamed in a while, but Diggy Decimus Makes some really good. He has made some really good flight sim content. He mainly he did the Zero Rutherford around the turn trip from around the world. He did the entire step of the journey that matched the real one. I know he's done a lot of flight sim streams in the past. I'm hoping he can streams again soon because I think because his streams are really chill and he makes some really good flight plans. So Dakey, I hope you're doing well for you. I'm doing quite great. I'm on Firefly Air, turned the Philippines. We're currently in the island of Mindanao. Mindanao. Sorry, I can't pronounce it. Like, some of these Philippine names are kind of hard to pronounce. So, that's me doing. And I'm not alone for today. I got Rolling 9. He's joined with us in the Cessna 310. I'm in the Kodiak for today. I gotta tell you, the landscape here in the Philippines is absolutely amazing. I love the scenery here in the Philippines. I hope to get back and stream as soon as I can. Thank you for the support. Hey, no problem, Dakey. I hope you get back streaming. I mean, you make some great streams, so I'm doing well. But yeah, the Philippines is absolutely beautiful. So let's check the weather conditions, shall we? So I've been doing, so for all you guys who are new to my stream, I do lots of these slideshow stuff. And I talk about the history, the geography of these places. It's my way of making myself different from some of the other people, is I like to research the places I fly. So that way I learn more about the places we go, because I think it's a very underrated skill, and I think Flight Sim is such a good place to learn about the world. I think it's perfect for it. Hey, Joey Bolo. Of course, I also have to give a shout out to my good friend Joey Bolo. Joey Bolo 77. Sup, man? I haven't catched on one of your streams in a while, but Joey Bolo, really awesome content creator. He makes some great flight sim streams. I know he streams way into the night. I mean, he streams like at 12 a.m. in the morning for me, so there's no way I can catch on Joey's streams. But seriously, Joey Bolo is a really entertaining and fun guy to be around. So definitely check out Joey Bolo. Oh, any places is like to research about the places to fight at the local pubs. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. But I'm sleep later, bro. But man, she's beautiful at it. The Philippines looks absolutely incredible. So, now for guys who just came in, let me show you the flight plan for our today's flight plan, shall we? So, let's go. Picker. Yeah, there we go. Big map. So we start here in General Santos City. We're starting at General Santos International Airport. So from General Santos, we got to oversee Mount Apo to the right. Quite more of mountains. Reach Kaga De Oro, the 10th largest city in the Philippines. Then I took a bit of a visit to the city of Kaga De Oro. Then we're heading on this way. We got to see Mount Malding to our right. Mount Malayandang. Then from Malayandang, then we're to our right. We're going to fly through quite a bit of the bay. And then make our landing here at Zamboanga City, and more specifically Zamboanga International, which is the Philippines' fifth largest city in the archipelago. Yeah, the Philippines is a really nice place to fly, and trust me, I'll get to more exciting places because I'm doing this is a 1,400-mile journey spread throughout 4 weeks. So week 2 would be through Palawan. Week 3 would be the Vestros Islands. Week 4 is going to be through the Luzon, including Manila. So it's going to be a very cool trip. We can see both urban, jungles, and mountains. So I can see a little bit of everything here. Yeah, Palawan's a must. It is. Palawan's got some very beautiful islands too. There's so many beautiful islands here in the Philippines. Oh yeah, and one more thing people forget. Palawan actually. I know I'm going to talk about it next week, but Palawan's actually the largest province in the entire country in terms of total area, and it's very well known for its natural beauty. Lots of flora and all that. It's definitely a beautiful area to visit. I've been flying for Firefly Air today, Athens to Dubai. Ooh, yeah, that would be a really cool flight, Athens to Dubai. Earlier today, I took the 7-3 from Brunei to General Santos. I had to deliver the supplies over for the trip. It took you 4 hours to get there in the 146. So according to my flight plan here, let me show the world. You were flying from Athens. You went across from here. You got to see a little bit of Herculean, and then you flew over near Cairo. So this here was near Cairo in Egypt. And then from there, you actually flew over a little bit of Israel to the south, into Jordan, Saudi Arabia, back to the Arab Gulf or the Persian Gulf, depending on who you ask, and land your way into Dubai. So that is, you flew over Cairo to fetch some better winds. Ah, gotcha. That makes sense. See, that's really cool about this FS Hub thing. You can see where people actually fly. And of course, you can also take pictures, and I'm forgetting to take pictures. I might have to redo a lot of this area again and take more pictures. But I want to focus on flying for today. And man, look at the sunset. This is just beautiful here in the Philippines. What a lovely area to fly. Mm-hmm. But the reason I'm also doing this is because I'm trying to get an achievement to land, to fly all of the legs of the Philippines bush trip. So it's for FS Hub. Now, if you guys want to join FS Hub, like I said earlier, you go to fshub.io is the website. And from there, you need to download the Linear Rate Monitor client. Once you download it and get the FSI UPC if you're flying Microsoft, or XPUI for X-Plane. And then you also get signed up for an account there. And you can get started on your virtual airline journey, which I think is great. And for free, I think it's an unbeatable deal. For free, and they're continuing to add stuff. I set myself a challenge to only fly for Firefly airliner on connecting flights. Got it. So these are my flights so far. I visited, total, I visited 38, I've landed in 38 different countries and around the world. I landed, including Armenia, Australia, Canada, Cyprus, the Dominican Republic, Congo, Kinshasa, Congo, Malta, Norway, Nepal, Portugal. Yes, I landed in North Korea, but it doesn't show up. Spain. So I visited 38 different countries, and if you look here, they added some achievements. In fact, they also added some new achievements from the World Update. They added a World Update for the Battle of the Bridge, the Green City in the Sun, Flowing Water. There's a Sydney Lane Challenge, a Rome Lane Challenge, the Big Apple, and several new the multi-flight achievements, particularly the Lewis and Clark expedition. That's the journey I'm planning on doing next, is Lewis and Clark, after the Philippines trip, which would be a pretty long series. But yeah, definitely check it out, Joey. I mean, if you want to get your toes in wet into the virtual airline stuff, this would be a good place to start. Plus, I know Murph's group. I know that Murph is doing some huge things with it. Not just for jetliners, but for GA stuff, which is for this too. So yeah, huge plans for the GA. Even without a VA, the logbook is 100 times. Yes, the logbook on this is actually amazing. For example, for my most recent flight, it talks about the plane I use. Even just for the logbook, it's great. But this is also, but for VA and stuff, it's good for the VA too. You can also upload screenshots, so you can upload it. You can even edit the flight. So you can actually make tags. You can tag the thing. You can actually make remarks for the airport. So this is what I'm talking about. You can make remarks. So I can change. You can change the departure airport. So if it selected the wrong airport, you can change the arrival, or you can change the aircraft destination if you need to update your flight. But it also does your planned cruise, your landing rate, even in G's, your time, your distance, the fuel burnt, your max speed, your average speed, and it shows you how the flight went, like what kind of, how you got there, which is it's just great. The logbook on FS Hub is amazing. I mean, yeah, like I said, for free. It is amazing for free. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about quite a bit about it, and I want to talk about the geography of this island. This island in particular is known for its very interesting geography. So geographically, this is definitely a very interesting island to visit. Being the Philippines' second largest island, it's quite diverse in terms of its geographic components. So let's start with something that I think a lot of people want to know. is its geography. First, this area in the Philippines is quite mountainous, which you can definitely tell from flying all over the area. This is a very mountainous area here. It's home to the tallest tallest mountain here in the Philippines, Mount Oppo. Now, there are 10 different mountain ranges, including structural mountains and volcanoes. The structural mountains in the extreme eastern and western portions show broad mesas of rock. In the eastern portion is a range of complex mountains, known in their northern portion as the Diwata Mountains, which is low and rolling central position. Then there's another mountain range to the south, from north to south, from Talisman to the north to Tinaga Point, the southernmost point of the island. And several portions of the range are between 2,000 and 2,600 meters, which is around 6,600 to 8,500 feet. In addition to mountains, there's also lots of plateaus, mainly in the Bukidnon and Llano de Sur provinces, and are rather extensive and surround several volcanoes in the area. Then, of course, the largest lake in the island is Lake Lanao, which actually we flew around a little earlier. Is Lake Lanao. That's the largest lake in the island. It's a huge ancient lake, and it's one of the 15 ancient lakes on the planet as well. And then rivers, mainly for rivers, there is obviously the Rio Grande de Minao, the second largest river system in the Philippines, and the Agusan River, which is the third longest river in the country. There's also lots of plains and stuff too. And of course, geographically, climate change is a pretty big deal. And that's because of all the typhoons, particularly in 2011 being Typhoon Sindong and Typhoon Pablo in 2012. So typhoons are a big deal. Diggy says you have 35 flights with Firefly Air, negative 114 average. Ah, that's awesome. For me, my average, I've done. Oh, 1 second. Slideshow. For me, I've done 82 flights with the negative 136 feet per minute, and I've done 29,000 miles. Which is pretty good for me so far. Okay, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get back to the slideshow as well. So culturally and with tourism, for culture, it has over 25 million people, which is 22% of the country lives here. There's very deep cultural diversity here in the island. I mean, you can see them from the old Spanish settlements, the ancient Rajanate in the northeast, the Sultanates, and Buddhist and Taoist temples. Around 25.8% of the population classify themselves as Cebuanos, followed by the Bizana at 18%, the Ilonggo or Hiligaynon group at 8%, the Maguindanon group at 5.5%, the Murano at 5.4%, and then the remaining 36% belong to other ethnic groups. There's also dozens of languages spoken, mainly Cebuano, which is the most spoken language here, Hiligaynon, Kasung, and Maranao are the most widely spoken. And obviously the most dominant religion is Roman Catholicism at 65.9%, with the second largest being Islam at nearly 23.4%. As for tourism, there's quite a few major tourist spots, mainly beach resorts, scuba diving, surfing, museums, nature parks, mountain climbing, and river rafting. So, for example, Siargao is best known for its surfing tower, but it also has caves, pools, waterfalls, and lagoon. There's lots of archaeological sites in Bhutan. White Island's pretty well known in Camagüey. And Kaga De Oro has beach resorts, a nature park, white water rafting, and more. So basically, there's a lot of different things you can do for culture here in the island. So that is, I believe, for the cultural areas. So that's going to take a little bit of a break. We're here for now. Let's take a look at the scenery. Let's take a look. Raleigh Mall's still in the back. Just check and see if you're still there, Raleigh. But man, what a beautiful sight. Oh, this is a beautiful area. Just lovely. I'm glad everyone's here, and I'm very happy. So we are around 84 nautical miles left of our journey. So we're about 184 nautical miles remaining. So we're about 84 nautical miles remaining on our journey. We're now going to enter to the Moro Gulf. We're going to actually enter quite a few of the bays. So we're going to fly near the Moro Gulf. That's the largest gulf in the Philippines. It's also a major area for earthquakes, and it leads to local deadly tsunamis. One of them was in 1976, where it killed nearly 5,000 people, and 90,000 people were left homeless during this as well. But that's one of the many different seas here in the Philippines. Hey, Belusine, great to have you here. Belusine, it's great to have you here. Oh yeah, I definitely agree, Rob. The scenery here is amazing here. Oh, the scenery here in the Philippines is lovely. What a lovely area to fly. Surprised I wasn't flying here earlier. But yeah, it's definitely a great place. But yeah, this scenery here, this is amazing. This is one of the few times I'm glad that live water actually works out. Because you get one heck of a view, that's for sure. Had the spring and fail add-on, but I had to delete it as it caused really bad stutters. Oh. I don't know that led to bad stutters there, Raleigh. I know I don't have the 310, so I wouldn't really know if it caused that. But I'm curious to know about it, but thanks. Yeah, this sim it continues to just surprise how beautiful it is, even just 2 years later. I mean, it's crazy. It's just incredible. This sim, I mean, do I have to tell you why I like this sim so much? So, some interesting thing about the Philippines as well. So, in terms of airliners, so Philippine Airways is actually so Philippine Airlines is actually the main flag carrier of the Philippines. They were established back in February 26, 1941, which is actually the first and oldest commercial airline in Asia operating under its original name. Their main hub is in Manila at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, with 3 hubs in Cebu, Davao City, and Clark International Airport. They historically got quite a few fleets. They had 61 current aircraft currently, and they're usually a mix between several Boeings and Airbuses, mainly the A320s, the A330, the newer recently the A350, and then 10 models of the 777. The A320 usually does a lot of short haul routes. The A321 is used for the short haul medium flights that serve Southeast and East Asia, as well as domestic flights. They're going to bring in several A321neos. The A330 is usually for Asia and Oceania routes, but also through Hawaii. And then the A350 is for the long haul stuff: New York, Toronto, London, and Vancouver. And then the 777 is for the long haul flights to LA, San Francisco, and stuff. But it can also be used to service in London. That was before they were replaced by the A350. So pretty cool stuff. But they used to have quite a bit of a fleet back in the day. For example, they used to have 747s until 2014. They used to have 737 models, mainly the 300 models. The BAC 111 jet planes. They used to run DC-3s, and even 2 DC-6s were flown out of the Philippines. So definitely looks some pretty interesting places as well. And then in terms of destinations, the Philippines serves around the world, mainly in Asia, North America, and Oceania. They include some international destinations include Australia, China, Indonesia, Japan, and Malaysia in the U.S. But they serve a lot of local routes like Manila, Clark, and more. So that's kind of a bit about Philippine Airlines. Just get a little bit of information about their main airline service. Yeah, this area is just really nice. Great decision today to fly here in the Philippines today. Get to explore an area of the world that not many people in Flight Sim get to actually explore. Pretty cool stuff, if you ask me. Finally, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the last 2 slides for today, and then we can just explore the scenery for the rest of this flight. So first is RPMZ. This is Zamboanga International, mainly serving Zamboanga City. It's the 3rd busiest airport on the island after Davao City and Lago de Ingan Airport. This airport covers a total area of 270 hectares. Even though it's officially classified as a domestic international airport, it only offers scheduled domestic services. It was opened back in March 15th, 1945, 75 years ago, as Morat Field, an American airfield that was constructed from a poor Japanese airfield. After the war, it used to service nearby international destinations in the past, but those services were cut. Now, there are being plans to transfer the present airport here, and they push the new airport somewhere in the rest of the area, but that's been reported. But currently, they've been doing lots of expansions and stuff, and find a new airport as they try to find a new place they could put for the airport. But currently, this airport serves in Cebu Pacific, one of the other airliners. They serve Cebu, Davao, Manila, and Tawi-Tawi. And Philippine Airlines serves there to Manila. In 2019, this airport served around 1.2 million people and passengers. And in recent years, they quickly increased the cargo stuff, but I don't know what it's been since 2020. So, and finally, the last area is going to be Danbunga City. This city is a first-class urbanized city. It's the 5th largest city in the Philippines and the 3rd largest city by land area in the country, with a population of 977,234 people. It is the commercial industrial center of its region. It became a charged city in October 12, 1936. But it was actually founded all the way back in 1635 by the Spanish. The nickname for the city is the City of Flowers, but it's also known as Asia's Latin City, and the sardines capital of the Philippines. But the history of this goes all the way back to one of the Rajanites, more well known as San Milan. But it became truly a city with the Spanish arrival of the Spanish. And in fact, this city became the head main quarters of the Spanish on June 23rd, 1635, upon approval of King Philip IV of Spain. So they used this as one of the seats of the Spanish in the Philippines. Then it was occupied by the Americans in 1899. It became a Commonwealth city. World War II happened and the Japanese invaded there. After the island was liberated, it grew economically. Then we had the martial law years of President Ferdinand Marcos. And then currently in the 21st century now, it's definitely grown as quite a bit of a city as well. Now this city is most well known for its sardine industry, as 11 of the 12 sardine companies in the country are produced here. And they produce a lot of canned sardines and such. There's also a different economic zone as well. And in fact, they produce most of the world's supply of seaweeds. And around 75% of the country's seaweed for farming seaweed is right here in Zamboanga. And finally, tourism is a big deal. Mainly the famous pink sand beach of Santa Cruz is a very famous tourist attraction, as it was one of the world's top 21 beaches in 2018 by National Geographic. So definitely, it's a place on the rise for tourism, and it's definitely on the rise for... I'll be lurking a bit and set up a new flight. No worries, Dakey. Enjoy the lurk. But yeah, this area is definitely nice. So we're 41 nautical miles away, and I think we can see the city from up here. So that's it, guys. We're done with the slideshows for today. 65%. We got plenty of fuel for the flight. Hey, Dougal McTavish. No worries, Dougal. No need to be sorry, Dougal. But Rollymal's with me today. But no need to feel sorry, Dougal. It's all right. I understand you might be busy with some stuff. But yeah, I'm having a great time. I know the start of the flight wasn't great. For some reason, it was because I haven't flown the Kodiak in a long while. But we flew through General Santos City to Kaga De Oro, and then now we're heading to Zamboanga City. I really need a break. Yeah, I'm having a great time, Dougal. So if you like what you're seeing, if you haven't followed yet, don't be afraid to smash the follow button if you like what you're seeing. And I also have a Discord and a YouTube. Definitely check those out. The YouTube for my previous VODs. And my Discord is where I have all my stuff coming up. But yeah, this area is unbelievably pretty. Especially with the live weather, it turns out this is one of the few times live weather actually works out. But what a beautiful flight for today. So happy that today's flight is going so good. Oh, good question. Well, let me look at the runway. Straight into 27. Into wind? We're gonna land straight in at 27. I think we got a bit of a tailwind coming into the runway. So straight in 27, we don't have to runway to the wind. Okay, actually, let's do runway 09. Let's land on runway 9 to the wind, into the wind. Let's do that one. So let's run on 1.09 to the wind. So here it is, Zamboanga City's down here. I'm going to go ahead and descend to 1,500 feet. Let's drop down altitude. Uh-oh. Yeah. This is very pretty. So we're only 25 nautical miles remaining in our trip. So actually, this would be a pretty good time to go into exclamation point predict. And let's check out where we're going to be landing, and we'll end our trip. I know today is going to be the news. I don't think I'm going to make it in time to raid Murph. Unless I go really, really slow. Got some awesome predictions, guys. I'm saying if we arrive here in time, we might raid some Caesar. It just depends. Mm. Mm. So we're nearly there. We drop down to 1,500 feet. So once we get there, we're going to fly around the city of Zamboanga and complete today's flight. This should be pretty good. Let's get ready to actually do this. Just beautiful. Look at this. Look at the state of this. Look at the state of that. Oh, this is just... This is just pretty. I think you guys agree this is insanely pretty. Flying Virgin Norway to Keflavik and Iceland, catching a nice evening flight. Oh, that would be a great flight. Iceland. So here it is. This is Zamboanga City, and our airport should be around here somewhere. Man, this is just unbelievable. So we're gonna turn around. We're gonna visit all the different beaches. So what I'm doing for next Wednesday's flight, it's gonna be around 400 nautical miles. I'm probably gonna take the King Air for the next one, as we're gonna fly through the Sulu Sea. There's our airfield down here. Oh my goodness, look at the sunset. Oh, that is just unbelievably pretty. This is just very beautiful. Go ahead and power. Very awesome. Yeah, the scenery here is just spectacular. A little bit of a steep approach, but I think it'll be fine. Nice. -69 feet per minute. Nice. That was a very smooth landing. The Toolkit Pro got -76, and Raleigh was only -2 FPM off. Yeah, he's only -2 feet per minute off. Nicely done, Raleigh Mall. Great prediction. And that's it. We can turn off the lane light. Taxi light on. And get ready to park. Actually, before we get parking, let's see if Raleigh can actually land the plane. My plane couldn't stop moving, so I had to actually do that. Let's see. Let's catch Raleigh Mall's landing. I know that the 310 is going to be kind of an interesting one to land. You're going to need power to land that thing because it's quite a realistic one. It's not like other planes in the sim. You need power to help land the thing smooth. And he got it. Nicely done, Raleigh Mall. Get that thing down. Here we go, guys. That's going to be the end of the stream. Now, let me get this thing parked. We're about at the end of our stream. Let's get this thing parked. Let's get this thing parked and turn everything off. And we can conclude today's stream. Let's get this parked. Yeah, this was a good... That up here, and we can off. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Let's turn off all the lights. Off, 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 off. Rated heat, off, off. Here, you can turn off ignition, alternator off, and generator off. Power off. Turn off auxiliary fuel pump engine off. Turn off auxiliary, avionics off. And that is it. That will be everything, guys. I gotta say, guys, this was an absolutely stunning flight in the Philippines. What a fantastic flight, guys. I gotta say, I was blown away by the Philippines today. Bye, everyone. I really appreciate it, but make sure you guys stick around for the raid. So let me go ahead before we get raided. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone here. I really appreciate it. So, guys, we've had a fantastic stream today. The Philippines were absolutely stunning, and I hope you guys learned something or thing or two about the country. So on Sunday, we'll be doing our tour of a tour of St. Louis, the gateway to the West in the United States. And then next week, we start back here. Hopefully, we're going to take something a bit faster for our journey. as we go visit Palawan Island and learn more about the Philippines. So I want to say thank you for everyone here. We're going to go ahead and raid Sim Caesar. Make sure all of you guys stick around for the raid. And take care, everyone. Viper Strike 95 will now be signing off. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of the day.